Yes, today. My name is Sokha Yous. I'm a financial wellness counselor here at Mayo Employees Federal Credit Union. So whether you're in person, online right now, or watching us later, thank you so much for joining us. And at any time, if you guys have questions in here, just stop me. Or if you're online, just go ahead and type it out. If you're a little shy, you can reach out to me here at my email address and my phone number. And then I'll be more than happy to address any questions you may have, okay? So if you need to meet with me about anything at all, just send me this send an email to this email address, and I'll be more than happy to put you on the schedule. It's always free to work with me, and part of a service that our credit union provide to our members. So it's again, it's really important that if you find yourself in a situation like if you're in debt, you're trying to get yourself out of it, you feel overwhelmed, so just reach out to me. We can get you back on track. There's 2 other financial wellness counselors that's in training, so we can certainly get you to meet with someone, okay? So on the agenda today, what is debt? Good debt versus bad debt, the importance of getting out of debt, budgeting and emergency savings, different types of debt in the U.S. household, options to pay off debt, and then I'll just go ahead and do a little demonstration with an Excel spreadsheet that can be available to anyone. It's free, so I can email that to you too if you just send me an email. So just kind of give you just a quick idea, good debt versus bad debt, right? So good debt would be like mortgage because you get equity out of it, given the market, education, depending on what you're getting your education, and if you're going to a profession that's going to be able to pay your education loans off within a few years, then we consider that good debt. But education's always really good though. So with vehicle loans, is absolutely necessary for a lot of people, especially here in Minnesota. But we just have to be careful when getting a vehicle loan. This is one of those things that kind of keep you trapped and constant kind of what Dave Ramsey will call it, car poor, right? So the average car loan here in the States right now is $650 for a new vehicle, and I believe $453 for a used vehicle. And on top of that, you're not thinking about you have to include your car insurance and then the maintenance and the things that come up with it, like the tabs and the stickers and stuff. Credit card debt, if your interest rate is really low and you're keeping up with it, you're able to pay it off, and so you can always use that as good debt as well. So many different things, so many different debt that goes around and that revolves around us throughout the day. So if we were talking about debt, I don't want anyone to feel ashamed about it. It's one of those things that pretty much everyone has to carry, right? Whether you have a mortgage or you have something on your credit card, student loans, whatever it may be. Payday lenders is always a bad idea. So if you find yourself in this situation, please come talk to a loan officer or one of our representatives here so we can help you get out of the situation you're in versus going to a payday lender. So debt in the average debt in the average U.S. household right now, 56% of Americans say their household is struggling with debt. I think it's a little bit more now this year in 2026 alone. This is 2025 information. So in the first quarter of this year, it's really, I think it's gone up a lot more too. 1 in 3 people feel like credit card companies own them, so they owe a lot of credit card debt, or they feel like they work just to pay off their credit card. 38% of Americans think their household debit is affecting their health, right? Household debt is affecting their health, right? Because if you have a lot of debt, you're going to be thinking about it a lot, and it's really going to stress you out. How am I going to pay for this? How am I going to be able to pay the debt off? How am I going to save for my retirement? How can I pay for my kids' college? Stuff like that. 2 in 5 say debt is a source of conflict in their household. Finances is one of the most, is one of the top triggers of divorces in America. So it's not a surprise that 2 in 5 say debt is a source of conflict. 46% of American households struggle the most with credit card debt, followed by mortgage and your student loans. So just be mindful you find yourself in one of these situations. You're not alone, but that doesn't mean that you should sit kind of still with it, right? We want to get you out of debt as quickly as possible. So kind of give you an idea what some of the household debt looks like. 70% of debt is mortgage, and then student loans, auto loan, home equity line of credit, and other debt, and credit cards too. So just a little pie chart there, just really kind of give you a visual what debt looks like. The importance of getting out of debt, it really improves your financial freedom. Eliminating your debt gives you more disposable income to save, invest, and build wealth, and also gives you emotional relief too. So it reduces your financial stress. So a study from J.J. Whitworth shows 50% of borrowers worry about their debt, which is, I think it's a little bit more than that too. It really increases your stability. Without monthly debt, emergencies are less likely to throw you off your entire budget because you'll be able to save for your emergency savings and then use that money when there is an emergency versus putting on a credit card or taking out a loan. It creates other opportunities too. So better credit opens doors for home ownership, business loans, and lower interest rate loans. The better your credit score, the lower your interest rate, the less money you pay, which means more money in your pocket. So I also understand what goes into your credit score too. So 35% of your credit score makes up your credit history. Just like your driving, how car insurance determine your premiums, it's mainly based off of your driving history. With credit score, it's just based off your payment history, right? 35%. 30% is amount owed. That's credit utilization. You want to stay, let's say if you have a $10,000 credit limit, we want you to stay under 30%. So don't spend over $3,000. So the less you spend on your credit card, the more points that you'll have, right? Because it has less credit utilization. Or if you do spend on your credit card, just pay off the balance or try to pay as much of it off as possible. 10% of your credit score is based off of new credit. So it is tempting and enticing to get all these new store credit cards and say, you can save 30% of your purchase if you get approved today, if you apply. It's tempting, but remember, when you get a new credit card, it really shortens the lifetime of your credit history. So it gives you less, kind of lowers your credit score a little bit too. Then 15% of your credit score is your length of credit history, and 10% is your credit mix. So, yes.
If you check your credit score with one of the credit bureaus,
Yep.
does that impact your? Somebody told me a long time ago that may adversely affect your credit by checking your credit history.
Oh, sure. So the question is, for the people online, if you check your credit score with the credit bureaus, does that affect your credit score? It used to be back in the day, if you do check your credit score with Equifax, TransUnion, or Experian, it does affect your credit score, like it lowers it, but not anymore. Simply because it's not considered a hard inquiry anymore. That's more of a soft inquiry where let's say if you sign up for Credit Karma and they kind of take a hit or take a look at your credit score, that's a soft inquiry, so it doesn't affect your credit score. Although just know that the credit score that you're seeing is not always accurate also. It could be based on a different scoring model and different credit bureau company that they're going with. So for example, we work with Equifax. So if you try to apply for a car loan with, let's say, Ford, and they uses TransUnion, they're going to use the TransUnion credit score for that product. So if you're trying to buy a vehicle, they use a different scoring model versus trying to buy a mortgage or trying to get a mortgage. So just be mindful. That's a very long way of answering. It won't affect your credit score, but just be mindful that credit score is not always accurate too. So.
But you're saying a real employee's credit union uses Equifax?
We do use Equifax, yeah. So, and different importance of having good credit scores, ability to obtain good loans, right? Lower interest rate loans, car loans. Some places really affects your rent. You can't rent in places if your credit score is not good. It also affects your car insurance rates too. So after your driving history, they look at your credit history, your credit score. If your credit score is high, the lower, you are deemed more responsible, so they lower your premium. If your credit score is low, you're not deemed as responsible, so they give you a higher premium. So if you got if you have car insurance and it's costing you $300 now, but you got the code about a year or two ago, but now you've been working on your credit and it's improved so much, you might want to give them a call and see if they can, run some figures for you and see if they can give you a better quote. And if they can't give you a better quote, then, shop with another company too. The good news is that you don't have to settle for that one company. You don't have to be loyal to that one company. You can just go with a different company that will give you the lower quote as well. Certain employment agencies or certain employers really look at your credit report before they employ you as well, so just be mindful of that. And again, credit score is very specific to you, so you guys may have the exact same credit cards on your credit report, but because one of your credit card is older than your partner's credit card, you may have a higher credit score as well. So again, it's very specific to you, and of course, we want you to make very thoughtful and deliberate choices because you can go downhill pretty quickly. It's a slippery slope once you start charging, and then the interest rates hit. It can go from 0% interest rate to 29% interest rate. without you actually realizing it, even if they sent you letters or emails to notify you. Again, it's really important to review your credit report at least once a year. I recommend every quarter, just to make sure everything on there is accurate, just to make sure there's no fraudulent activities on there, and your address and your phone number is accurate as well. Again, annualcreditreport.com is free, and it's a secure website, so you can go on there. You can look up all 3 credit bureaus on there too. So, all right. So borrowing ability, paying off debt will improve your borrowing ability, so it increases your credit score by lowering your credit utilization, and it lowers your debt to income ratio, so it allows you to borrow a little bit more too. So for example, with Sarah's gross income is $6,000 and her debt is only $1,000 per month. So her debt to income ratio is only 16%, which allows our lenders to offer her more money because her debt to income ratio is so low. So to kind of give you an idea, we want you to keep your debt to income ratio less than 36%. So that means all the debt that you're paying that shows up in your credit report. So all your credit cards, your car payments, your student loan, we want all of that to equal less than 36% of your total gross income, not your take-home pay, but your gross income. So that's ideal. If yours is about 43%, it's going to be very difficult for us to get you approved for a loan, or any other institutions for that matter. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about a budget. So what is a budget? So when we talk about debt, we have to talk about budgets, right? So we have to know what goes into our budget, what we have left over to put towards savings, what we have left over to put towards debt. So simply put, a budget is a spending plan based on your income, expenses, and financial goals. So according to Bank Rate Survey, 34% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. And as of 2025, approximately 20 to 32% of Americans making over $100,000 a year live paycheck to paycheck. That doesn't necessarily mean that they were irresponsible with their money. It's just that things are gotten so expensive. So it's very difficult to raise a family on $100,000 anymore, a family of 4. Usually if it's back in 2019, 2018, you can have one person making $100,000 a year and still be able to raise a family. But now it's going to be very, very difficult, especially with taxes and, things being expensive as they are. So it's really important to keep track of your expenses, of course. So when I talk about budget, it kind of, for some people, it really make them, tighten up gives an anxiety a little bit. Because it tells them, when it comes to a budget, I don't want anyone to think that it's a trap, or it's, I forgot my word, sorry. It's like a jail for you to kind of stay behind, kind of, I'm losing my words here. Sorry about that. I don't want anyone to think that it's restrictive. That's the word I was looking for. Sorry, that it's restrictive. I want you to think of budgeting as a freedom, right? So you know exactly where your money is going to. You know exactly what's coming in. You know exactly what's going out for this paycheck. I don't necessarily want you to live paycheck to paycheck, right? Our goal is to never live paycheck to paycheck, but I really encourage everyone to budget paycheck to paycheck, so you know exactly how much you have left over to put towards certain, categories in life. So that way you have the freedom to know what you can spend money on. You should always have a category for, guilt-free spending. So that way you just know, what, I have $300 to blow this week or this month. I don't have to keep track of my expenses or anything for this category. So that way I can just spend, and I don't have to tell anyone, where my money is going to for that specific category. So having a budget means tracking income versus expenses, and in expenses you can find the surplus of cash so that can be redirected towards debt principal. So it's really important that when you're doing your budget, making sure that you know where extra money is so you can allocate towards certain debt, right? But before we can attack any debt, we have to talk about saving for emergencies, right? So an emergency fund, knowing exactly it's a certain amount of funds that you have dedicated towards emergencies, so that we can reduce your stress and let you focus on your mental energy on staying consistent with your budget. So if some emergency comes up, you know that you have money in emergency funds, and you don't have to worry about putting on a credit card. You don't have to worry about getting a loan for that emergency. It can look different for different people. If you're a single person without, that has a very low overhead, you can say your emergency funds is $1,000. But if you're a family of 6, your emergency funds might be a little bit bigger. Let's say $3,000. Just have an emergency, sitting in an account. in a high yield savings account or a money market account, just to have it accrue more interest and work for you. And then once you have that emergency savings set aside, then that's when we want to focus on paying the highest interest rate first, paying off your debt. So when we're talking about debt, we can't not talk about emergency savings, because if you don't have emergency savings, you just can end up putting yourself further into debt. So just another, brief look here, the average U.S. household debt by type. Mortgages between 234 to 252. I think it's a little bit more now for 2026. So based on reports and data from Federal Reserves, 2024, 2025, here's a chart outlining the difference between debt held by typical American families and about the average balance. So all these are the mortgage and auto loan is secured installments, unsecured loans, high interest debt, which can be used repeatedly with credit cards. Once you pay it off, you can use it. Revolving credit lines would be like the home equity line of credit, and personal loans are unsecured installments. So you don't have to write any of the numbers down, but it just kind of gives you an idea of this is if you fall into the category here. So when it comes to really attacking your debt, what do you do first, right? You want to go to your credit report. You want to know where all your debt is. You want to know who you owe your balance to, and how much you owe. What is the interest rate on there, right? So it doesn't always show up on your credit report. So it's really, really important that you just go through all your email, all your financial stuff, just to be sure that you know exactly who you owe. Because if you owe your Uncle Joe, he's not going to report you to the credit bureaus, but you still have to remember that you have to pay him back too. So you want to organize your debt, find out what you owe, plan which one to pay off first. Do not accrue new debt is the most important thing. So in order for us to not accrue new debt, we want to go ahead and have as much in savings as possible, or emergency savings as possible. That way we don't accrue new debt when we have some sort of emergency. And of course, we want to fit it all into your budget. Things to consider when using a loan to pay off debt. So if you have a lot of debt with high interest, perhaps look into getting a personal loan with us, or if you are able to get a home equity line of credit with us, that we can use that money to pay off debt. Determines if if the interest rate of the new loan is lower than your current debt. If your current debt only is a 2% interest rate on it, there's no point in you getting a loan with 8% interest rate to pay off a credit card that only has 2% interest rate. So just kind of be mindful of that too. The length of time you'll save, are you going to be able to pay your loan off faster than it would take you to pay your credit card off if you work with it individually? And refinance, are you able to refinance your home or your vehicle to try to have some extra money to put towards your debt, or to lower your monthly payments so that way you have more each month to put towards your current monthly debt? And also, is your credit, good enough to apply for a new credit card to see if you can get a very large available credit so you can do a balance transfer? Will that offer you a 0% interest rate the first 12 months, 18 months, or 24 months? That's typically for people whose credit is a little bit better too, in the 700 range. But if you're in the 600 range, that might not be the best bet for you. So we can always explore other things as well. But be careful when you're doing a credit card balance too. So you want to balance your high interest credit card into your new credit card, which offers 0% interest rate for 12 months. But you got to look at the contract. If you don't pay it off within that 12 months, does the interest retroactively go back to the very first month when you transfer it? So now you have 12 months of interest on top of your current balance too. So is this something that you can seriously commit to paying the next 12 months or 16 or whatever the terms are? So something to really consider. So understanding your debt. So this is back to Sarah again. She owes $20,000 in student loans. The average interest is 5%. Her due date is on the 10th, and it's late on the 15th of each month. And her late fee is $35. So her monthly payments, out of $200 monthly payments, $83.34 goes towards her interest, and $116.66 goes towards principal. So just be mindful that that with the balance, even though you're making monthly payments, a large portion of that is still going towards your interest rate. So that's why it's really important to attack credit cards with higher interest rates first. So different repayment strategies. We can do the debt avalanche, where you pay the highest interest rate first. So it doesn't matter what the balance is, you just list it off with the highest interest rate first. This will save you the most amount of time and the most amount of money. But it takes a lot of discipline, because it's going to take you a little bit longer to pay off the first debt, right? Because it's usually a bigger balance too. The debt snowball, where you pay the smallest balance first, and it builds motivation, little quick wins as you pay down your debt. So you can pay off your smallest one, your $500 one, your $1,000, and move on to $1,500 or $3,000. Debt snowflakes would be unexpected little small windfalls, like, tax returns. When you get your tax return back or extra bonuses, extra commission, you can put that towards, sprinkle that throughout the year towards your debt so you can pay it off sooner too. It allows you to pay down debt slightly faster with the amount of money, with extra money throughout the year. So let me know if you want me to go back to the screen or move on. I can definitely email it to you. Yeah, absolutely. So repayment strategies, again with debt consolidation, so consolidation options, debt consolidation loans or personal loans, you can get best for multiple unsecured debts like credit cards, medical bills, things like that. Different features, an unsecured loan with fixed, usually lower interest rate and set repayment term. The risk factor, you need a decent credit score to qualify for a low enough interest rate to make the consolidation worth it. So again, that's, if you're in the better rank of credit scores, that might be the best bet for you. Are you interested in perhaps refinancing your auto loan, your student loans, or your home? So individuals with high interest secure or installment loans like vehicle or education. So something to look into. This is a good chart to look at. Balance transfer, again, is good for high interest credit cards. 0% introductory for the most part, and the risk is the low rate is temporary. The rate spikes if the debt isn't paid off in time. Home equity and loan or home equity line of credit for high balance debt as well, typically with better credit as well. The risk is if you default on the loan, you could lose your home. So there's always pros and cons to it, but it's always good to consolidate all your debt. If you have 5-6 different debt, consolidate it into one, so that way you'll have to focus on one to pay back. There's also consumer credit counseling for individuals struggling with unsecured debt. These are mainly nonprofit agencies, so they don't really, get anything out of it. They don't really charge you an extra fee for it. But with debt settlement companies, they do negotiate with creditors and they pay less than the amount, so they typically settle for you. But also just be mindful that, settlement sounds good. Settlement means that if you owe $5,000 to the credit card and these debt managed settlement company comes in and they say, you know what, instead of $5,000, we have $1,000 to pay this off today. Will you accept our terms and conditions? And if the credit card company or whomever, the creditor, accept the terms and conditions of that debt settlement company, then now, you can pay, they can either pay that $1,000 off up front, or you can pay that $1,000 over 6 months, whatever it is they offer, right? There might be some negotiation back and forth, but whatever they agree to. But now you're saving yourself $4,000, which sounds wonderful. You don't have to pay back an extra $4,000. But remember, with anything saved over $600 in debt, they will send you a 1099 because that's income earned that you don't have to pay, because you don't have to pay back your debt. So just be mindful on how much you save. So the settlement might sound quite enticing, but just know that there's tax factor at the end of the year for that too. So something to talk to your accountant about if you're looking to settle some large debt this year or next year. So bankruptcy, last resort, but it's not something to be ashamed of at all. So if people are, looking for a fresh start, if they're, in an amount of debt that they can't absolutely get out of, then it's something to really look into as well. So, yes. Oh, you can be employed or unemployed. Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's an income limit, but with that income limit, you would have to do like Chapter 13 instead of Chapter 7. So yeah, Chapter 13 would be ones for the high income. So something to look into if that's, for some people. It's easy, it's not easy, excuse me. To recover from debt-backed credit, consider a secure credit card to rebuild your credit. It's pretty easy to get different kind of credit cards these days, but just be mindful. Just remember, how did you get yourself in credit card debt in the first place? Try not to make the same mistakes. Did you already address your financial relationship, where you're able to address your different coping mechanisms, so that way you don't overspend when you're stressed or when you're having a bad day? You need to talk to a credit counselor or guidance for this as well. I'll be more than happy to do that. We have 2 others too that you can chat with. You can recognize and address any bad financial habits, so that way you don't get yourself into the same situation. But also, recovering from bad credit does take some time, so just remember to be patient. And credit improvement takes time, but it also takes a lot of consistency. Means that you have to consistently not put yourself back into debt, that you're paying yourself back. You're paying them back on time every single month. and that you, when the time is right, open up one or two credit cards and then perhaps a personal loan a year later, just so you can have a mix of credit history or credit mix. So that way it shows that you know how to handle different debt, okay? But be very patient though, don't rush it too quickly. Otherwise you'll feel overwhelmed. Ways to make extra money to pay towards debt, of course, freelance work, and we're living in a gig economy. You can rent your assets, you can rent your space, your vehicle, you can rent your home, reselling, flipping things, and part-time jobs if you have the time for it. So debt snowball versus debt avalanche, which one should we go with first, right? So which one might be good for you? So I'm gonna get into the demonstration here. So this is the, when I meet with people, I always like to have them fill out this sheet right here. So this is just, make it out a little bit, sorry. We'll just focus on this. So basically, your budget. Know what's in your budget, right? Your income. What kind of income is coming into your household each month? So if you change this, let's say if it's $3,500, if you change that, you'll see that the total number changes to $6,900. So all you have to do, you don't have to add it up. It's already all there for you, okay? So I'll change it back to $3,000. But I always like to have people list their debt, their bills according to their due date, because remember, we want to budget for with every paycheck. I mean, it's good to see what is due each month, right? So each month, you have about $5,000 going out each month, but what days are they due? What paycheck is it going to fall on? If you need this next paycheck to go towards the kids' recital, kids' sports stuff, so maybe we can't take it out of this paycheck, then we need to skip to the next paycheck. So I want people to start budgeting, every paycheck, and even budget a few paychecks ahead of time. So you want to list off your due dates and then what bills are due. These are your fixed expenses, things like your car insurance, same amount, same date, cell phones, same amount, same date, your mortgage, your rent, and then over here just put your monthly total. Your variable expenses in this area, this is what make or break your budget altogether. It's a smaller category, but because it varies from month to month, it varies from season to season. Families, people often kind of break their budget and go over their budget. And then that's when they're like, oh my gosh, thought I have extra money left over, but I certainly don't. These are things like your groceries, household items, hobbies, things like that. Again, they'll change from season to season in life and also throughout the year too. But we still want to put a budget over it, right? We still want to cap and say, you know what, I don't want to go over $800 in groceries. Or, during the fall when you're traveling with the kids to different sporting events, you're going to eat out a little bit more. So you might want to increase your eating out budget and lower your grocery budget too, because chances are you probably won't be at home much between work and taking the care of, driving the kids here and there to different locations. So you're probably eating out a little bit more. We always want to have a category for personal care, for entertainment, because again, we want you to have a life, right? So budgeting is not about restrictions. Again, this is about you being intentional where your money goes and how you want to live your life. So if you have $100, $150 a month to spend on your hobbies, is that quilting? Is that painting? What is your hobby? I want you to explore that and still live your life while you're paying off your debt, right? So this is your variable expenses. Again, it varies, but we still want to have a cap over it, right? So it means that our budget is not set in stone. We can still adjust it and sway and flow as the water flows and however the wind blows, right? So, and savings and sinking funds, saving in debt. So we still want you to have savings accounts. I want you, in addition to you paying off your debt, even after you save your emergency savings, I still want you to save a little bit extra, something $25, $30 into an extra savings account. And then also have a category. I set it up as a bill because it's really important that people look at savings account and debt as extra bills too. So especially with savings account, that way you are forced to pay yourself back. I want you to be intentional with every dollar that's coming in. So here, out of $6,400, and that's cleared for this couple, what's left over is zero, but what really reality is, they have money allocated for different categories in life, right? So entertainment, personal care, but they also have money going towards different savings account towards their financial goals. So right now, you guys, your financial goal might be paying off debt. So you can be a little bit more intentional and say, you know what, I want to put $500 towards debt here, and then we will choose to see which debt to put in first, right? So, but down here, you can fill out where all your accounts are at. Are you with MEFQ Savings? So that's here. Are you with Wells Fargo? Are you with, Capital One? Where your balance is if you want to fill that out. Your different financial goals that you can put into. But most importantly, here's your debt section here. I want you to write out or list out all your creditors who you owe. It's really important to find out your interest rate. And if you're in an introductory credit card, figure out when that expires and what the new interest rate will be, what your balance is, and your credit limit, because your credit limit, when we know that, then at least we'll know what your credit utilization will be. That way we can, let's say if we want to aim towards increasing your credit score, then if one of your, 2, 3 year credit cards are over 30% utilization, we can just try to pay those 2 credit cards to get it under 30% utilization to increase your credit score the fastest way. So that'd be the reason why we want to know your credit limit. But also it's important to know your credit limit too, because you can always call your credit card company to increase your credit limit. That way your credit utilization will be lower too. So you can have more available credit available, so then it boosts up your credit score as well. Of course, we want to know what your minimum payment is, not what you're currently paying, because a lot of people say, you know what, I pay an extra 30, I pay an extra 50. Well, if the interest rate is high and the balance is high, an extra 30 or $50 really is not going to do much of a difference, except it's just going to leave your pocket and won't come back. So we want to be intentional. We want to be, we want to be focused on what the first bill will be, what the first debt will be and how we're going to pay it back. So you can play around with all these other spots here, but most important thing, I want you guys to take a look at the debt avalanche here, okay? So I'm sorry if it's a little too big or too small. Okay, so we start here with the debt avalanche. Remember, the debt avalanche goes from the highest interest rate first, right? Doesn't matter what the balance is, highest interest rate first. And then here, you can always change this to where, you know what, a one-time startup, I'm gonna put an extra $100 towards my credit card. So this is my Capital One with a balance of $4,000. Minimum payment is $125. The interest rate is $30. So this is the basic information right here, okay? But remember, we're not focusing on any of these. While you're paying off your debt avalanche, you're gonna pay minimum payments on all your other credit cards and all your other debts. So minimum payments for everything else except for category number 1. So category number 1, we're gonna put just an extra $100 to start up, right? So out of $4,000, $125 is minimum payment, but we're already adding $100 on top of that. But then I found it's a part-time job where I'm bringing in $500 a month, and I'm going to put all of that towards my debt. So an extra monthly payment is $500. So this is $600 startup. So this is what it's going to look like. Your first month number 1, your first payment is $725. Because it's $500 plus the $100 one-time startup plus the $125 as their minimum payment. So out of $4,000 minus the $75, you're left with $3,275. But remember, everything else here, we're paying minimum payments on everything else, okay? So then the next month, you're gonna pay $625 for month number 2, because remember, it's an extra $500 plus the minimum payment, but everything else is still minimum payments here, okay? So it goes on and on until it's paid off. So in this scenario, you'll have this paid off within month number 7. So when month number 7 is over, you're gonna roll over the amount that you've been paying here into what you've been paying over here. So out of $625, we paid $338 to pay this first off, and then roll over the remaining to the second one. So then the $625 that you're paying here in this category, you can add it towards your minimum payment of $57. So your new monthly payment is $682. So if you continue that, you're just rolling it from one debt to another, to the next one. So this one, the debt would be paid off in month 10. So, and then, if income tax happens, you're getting, let's say, $2,000 back or $1,000. Sorry, just a one-time payment. Let's say $1,000. You can see once you put enter, you can see all the numbers change too. So it kind of adjusts how you adjust your, monthly payment. So if you want to do $200, as you can see all the numbers change here too. So it really takes out the, for you to do the math. All I have to do is just put in the figure up here. So it's really important to, just stay focused, and at least here you can still see. So for a lot of people, they say, 7 months from now sounds wonderful, but I have a hard time picturing what 7 months from now looks like. So if I can see, I'm going to cross off month number 1, I'm going to cross off month number 2, so I only have 5 more months with this first debt. And then so on and so on. Once you pay this off, you're going to take whatever amounts left over, roll into the next one. So now, instead of you paying $225 towards this one before, now you're paying $900 a month towards this debt, because you're taking the minimum payment from the first debt, the minimum payment from the second debt, and you're rolling over to the third debt altogether. So this one, everything will be paid off in like 20 months and so on. So again, this is the high interest one. Remember the debt avalanche. For some people, they really like to do the debt snowball, which I like the debt snowball as well. It doesn't matter what the interest rate is, it's the balance, based off the balance. We want to focus on paying the smallest balance first because it gives you these psychological little wins. Like I can, you know what, I feel really good that I'm able to pay off the $2,200 debt. Now I know I'm going to roll everything over to my next one, okay? So again, if you want to get a part-time job, make an extra $500 each month. Now this $2,200 balance, if you're able to do a one-time payment plus $500 extra per month plus $57 minimum payment, with your payments being that amount, you're going to have this paid off within month number 4. And again, we're just going to roll it on over, snowball it on over to the next one until it's all paid off. So whichever one works for you. Just remember that debt avalanche, the first one is usually typically a little bit longer to pay off, but then once you have that paid off, you're going to roll over to the next one and it pays off typically a lot faster, which means that it's going to save you a lot more money in interest versus the debt snowball takes you a little bit longer to pay off, but you're going to waste more money on interest rate too. But it's all on how you feel about it. If you feel like that avalanche, the balance is too big to start out with and it's intimidating and you feel like you're not going to be able to stick to it, then don't do that one. We want you to work with a plan that works for you right now, okay? And then when things, if you're confident you want to start out with the debt avalanche, let's do that. But when kids start school again, you need extra money for school supplies, you won't be able to do any extra. That's fine. We can always switch to, the debt snowball and just switch things up a little bit too. It doesn't have to be set in stone. This is something that we want to be able to move with you as you go through life, different, journeys on your different phases in your financial journeys, okay? This is all throughout your life too. Once you retire, you're still going to have some sort of other debt too, so whatever that may be. So that's that for now. But this can be available for anyone too. I'm just going to go back here real quick. Okay. Let me see. Oops, sorry. Oh, I do the presentation here from Kurt. Okay, so that was the demonstration there for a little bit. Anyone have any questions in that one so far? Yes?
The slide that shows how these credit unions, what the range is for your credit? Like 500's good.
Oh, yeah.
300's average.
Oh, sure.
Do you have a slide that
I don't have it here, but you can actually just go online and see what the average, credit scores are, like the different ranges of credit score. Yeah, you can just go online and type that, and you'll have plenty of information that states that.
What's the top end versus the low end?
So right now with the FICO score, it's at 850, and I think it goes down to like 350. So
the
yeah,
top would be 850.
yeah, with that FICO
And the
score.
lowest rating is 350.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. The key takeaways, we have, different credit tools. You want to use that wisely. Of course, we want you to make your payments on time. Keep credit card usage low as possible. You want to monitor it regularly. And also don't fear debt. It's just something to, it's just a numbers game, right? So, but it's easier said than done because it really affects your emotions, your livelihood, where you can live, where you cannot live, where you can work and not work, if you can afford food for your family this month or not. But we just have to treat it like, a game too. So, the numbers, we just have to attack the numbers. We have to figure out how to make more numbers for you so that we can use, more numbers for you, meaning more money for you, so that way you can figure out how to pay off your debt and get you further in life. So don't be afraid to talk about it with your debt, about your debt with people. I wish people can be more open about it. It's not a taboo topic, everyone pretty much have it, and there's a lot of shame around it, especially when I meet with people and they say, you know what, I should know better. I got myself into this years ago, and I got myself back in and out and in and out. I don't know what I'm going to learn. Well, for those, I would suggest that perhaps, really addressing what your financial relationship is. If you're just not a credit card person, let's just not get a credit card anymore. Let's just use a debit card, or just use cash. If you know that you just have a really, off and on relationship with money where you go and spend extra money when you're having a bad day, then we can work on different coping mechanisms as well, or perhaps see a different kind of counselor. So we have any questions at this time? It's a little bit shorter presentation, so I can go back to I can go back to the Excel spreadsheet if you need me to. No? Okay. Any questions online, Mike?
Just
Oh,
out
yeah.
of curiosity, what
Yeah.
is the average person, how many credit cards does the average person have?
I think what they're saying online is about 6. Yeah.
And is there a danger in having too many credit cards?
Oh, there's a danger if you're not paying it back. Absolutely. Yeah. So it's just, with the way the economy is going, people are relying more and more on credit. But it's not. You have to look at it as more not really. They're not really misusing it. They're just trying to figure out how to survive. So we just have to keep that in mind also. That yeah, they may have a lot of debt, but they're just trying to figure out how to survive and how to get out of it. So no one. I worked in collections for 16 years, and every single person that I talked to on the phone wants to get out of debt, does not want to be delinquent, does not want to hear from me. So they felt a lot of. I can sense their shame over the phone. They feel a lot of fear. That's why they don't pick up the phone call. There's a lot of shame. That's why I don't want to talk about it. They feel, some sort of isolation because they feel like, no one can understand the debt that they're in, or, they look at other people and they say, this person drives a new car, they're on vacation, this, that, or the other. They must not be in debt. They're doing well, so I feel ashamed that I'm not there. But the truth is, they're probably in debt up to their eyeballs, and it's just not, a top priority for them either. So either way, yeah, it's just something that should be addressed more often. Just know, yeah, absolutely, yes, online.
Yeah, someone online is asking if they can contact you for further assistance and maybe who's able to contact you.
Yes, absolutely. So anyone can contact me. It's always free to work with me. I'm part of a service that the credit union offer. This is my email, so be sure to send me an email. We'll be sure to get you on the calendar for that, okay? But thank you all so much for coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Grab a snack on your way out, and thank you for joining us online.